Hello there, and welcome to this sleepy universe zone. You might think that space is silent because nothing is happening, but that's not true at all. In fact, right now, as you lie here trying to fall asleep, the solar system is in constant motion, spinning, drifting, and moving with energy in ways your senses were never designed to perceive. Planets are racing around the sun at tens of thousands of miles per hour. Storms larger than Earth are raging for centuries, and entire oceans may be shifting beneath frozen crusts in the dark. And yet from where you are, it all feels completely still. That contradiction, the quiet illusion of something unimaginably active, might be the reason your mind keeps wandering tonight. Because part of you senses it. Part of you knows there is more happening out there than you can feel. And it leaves a gentle tension in your thoughts, a quiet curiosity that does not fully let you rest. But here is the strange and comforting truth. The solar system feels calm not because it is empty, but because it is vast beyond human scale. Distances are so enormous that even the most violent events are softened into silence. Light itself takes over 8 minutes to reach Earth from the Sun, and hours or even days to travel between planets. Sound cannot move through the vacuum at all. So every explosion, every collision, every shifting current of gas and dust unfolds in complete silence. It is not that the universe is quiet, it is that it speaks in a language your body interprets as peace. And tonight, instead of resisting that feeling, you are going to slowly drift into it, because this journey is for you, not for someone else. It's not for a classroom or a test, but for this exact moment where your thoughts are beginning to slow, but are not quite ready to let go. Maybe you have tried to sleep already. Maybe your mind keeps replaying the day or reaching forward into tomorrow, searching for something to hold on to. And that is where the solar system becomes something unexpected, not just a place of science, but a place of release. Out there, nothing is rushing you. Nothing is demanding your attention. Planets take years to complete a single orbit. Some take centuries, and others drift so slowly that their motion is almost beyond comprehension. And compared to that, your thoughts do not need to move so fast either. So instead of forcing sleep, we are going to gently replace what your mind is holding on to with something softer, something vast, something distant, is something that slowly dissolves the urgency you might still be feeling. And as you listen, you might notice something subtle beginning to happen. Your breathing slows without effort. Your body feels a little heavier or maybe a little lighter, as if it is no longer holding tension the same way. And that is not an accident. It's what happens when your mind finally finds something calm enough to rest inside. Before we drift deeper, if you feel this quiet shift beginning, you can gently tap the like button, not as a task, but as a small signal, helping this space reach someone else who might be lying awake right now, searching for the same kind of calm you are. Because over the next part of this journey, we are going to move through the solar system in a way most people never experience it, not as a list of facts, but as a slow, unfolding landscape of quiet wonders. You will discover why Neptune's winds move faster than sound itself, how entire oceans may exist beneath frozen moons like Europa, why Saturn's rings are already disappearing, and how even the sun, the brightest object in your sky, is slowly losing pieces of itself every second But more importantly, you will begin to feel how all of these things exist without urgency, without noise, without pressure. And somewhere between those distant planets and the quiet rhythm of your own breathing, something will begin to let go. Not suddenly, not all at once, but gently, like drifting further and further from the surface of a restless thought into a place where everything feels slower, softer, and easier to leave behind. So for now, just listen. You do not need to remember anything. You do not need to understand everything. Just let the solar system carry your thoughts, one quiet orbit at a time. You might imagine the most violent motion in the solar system happening close to the sun, where heat is intense and energy is overwhelming. But the truth is far more unsettling, because the fastest winds ever recorded are not found in warmth, but in the coldest, most distant darkness of Neptune, a planet so far away that sunlight arrives faint and weak, yet its atmosphere moves faster than the speed of sound, reaching over 2,000 kilometers per hour, faster than a jet, faster than storms on Earth, faster than anything your body has ever experienced. And still, it happens in complete silence. There is no roaring, no crashing, no sound at all. Only invisible currents racing across a pale blue world, driven not by sunlight, but by heat rising from deep within the planet itself, a quiet internal energy that never fully fades, even in the outermost reaches of the solar system. And that contrast between unimaginable speed and total silence is where something begins to shift in your mind, because it challenges the way you understand motion, the way you expect intensity to feel. And instead of noise, it offers stillness. Instead of chaos, it offers something strangely calm. Neptune is what scientists call an ice giant, composed mostly of hydrogen, helium, and methane, with methane giving the planet its soft blue color by absorbing red wavelengths of light, leaving behind that deep, tranquil hue you might imagine as peaceful. But beneath that color, storms are forming and dissolving, massive systems stretching across thousands of kilometers. It's shaped by winds that never truly rest. Some of these storms appear as dark spots, temporary features that emerge and vanish over time, like slow-moving thoughts drifting across the surface of your awareness, never staying long, never fixed, always changing. And yet, despite all this motion, Neptune receives only about 1/900th of the sunlight Earth does, meaning its energy does not come from outside, but from within. A reminder that even in the quietest places, there can be hidden movement, hidden warmth, something subtle continuing without needing attention. As you picture this distant world, you might begin to notice how different it feels compared to your own environment, because here, where you are, movement is often tied to urgency, to sound, to reaction. But out there, motion exists without pressure, without demand, or without expectation. Neptune does not rush, even at supersonic speeds, because its timescale is different. Its storms last for years. Its orbit around the Sun takes 165 Earth years to complete, meaning a single season can last decades, unfolding so slowly that nothing ever feels immediate. And as that idea settles into your thoughts, something softens, because you begin to realize that not everything needs to happen quickly. Not every moment needs to be filled. Not every thought needs to be followed. And maybe, as you continue listening, you can let your breathing match that slower rhythm, not forcing it, not controlling it, but simply allowing it to stretch a little longer, a little deeper, like the long seasons of a distant planet moving quietly through space. There is no need to hold on to the speed of the day, no need to carry the momentum of everything you had done or everything you still plan to do, because in this moment, you are not part of that pace anymore. You are drifting somewhere else, somewhere where even the fastest winds feel calm, because they do not demand anything from you. And while those invisible currents continue to sweep across Neptune's atmosphere, carving patterns into clouds you may never see, something similar can begin to happen inside your own mind, where thoughts that once felt fast or overwhelming begin to spread out, to slow down, to lose their sharp edges, until they are no longer something you need to follow, but something you can simply watch as they pass. Because just like those distant storms, they do not need to stay. They do not need to resolve. They can form and fade on their own, without effort. So as Neptune continues its silent motion in the far distance, you can let yourself move in a different way. Not forward, not toward anything, but gently inward, toward a place where everything becomes quieter, softer, and easier to release. And the further you drift, the less you notice the speed, the less you hold on to the details, until all that remains is a quiet sense of motion, steady and calm, carrying you deeper into rest, one slow breath at a time. You might think you understand how large a canyon can be. Maybe you have seen images of the Grand Canyon, or imagined standing at its edge, looking down into something immense. But what exists on Mars quietly stretches far beyond that understanding, because Valles Marineris is not just a canyon. It is a system so vast that it runs over 4,000 kilometers across the Martian surface. It's nearly a quarter of the planet's circumference, wide enough to span the entire continental United States, and deep enough in places to plunge more than 7 kilometers downward, creating a scar that feels less like a landscape and more like a memory etched into the planet itself. And yet, despite its size, despite its dramatic formation, it exists in complete stillness, untouched by flowing rivers, untouched by rain, preserved in a silence that has lasted for billions of years. This canyon did not form the way canyons on Earth do, not carved by water slowly wearing down rock over time, but instead through something more subtle and more profound, the stretching and cracking of Mars's crust as the planet cooled and shifted in its early history, combined with volcanic activity and landslides that widened and deepened its structure, is not a wound caused by erosion, but by tension, by the slow pulling apart of a world that no longer had the energy to heal itself. And as you picture that, a planet quietly cracking open, not violently, not suddenly, but gradually, over immense stretches of time, you might begin to feel how different this scale is from anything in your own life. Because here, change happens so slowly that it almost feels like stillness. Mars itself is a colder, quieter world compared to Earth, with a thin atmosphere made mostly of carbon dioxide, incapable of supporting liquid water on its surface for long periods. And yet, evidence suggests that long ago, water may have flowed here, perhaps even contributing in small ways to shaping parts of this canyon system. Today, however, Valles Marineris remains dry, silent, and unmoving, and its towering walls casting long shadows across a landscape that has not changed in any meaningful way for millions of years. It is a place where time feels suspended, where the past remains visible in every layer of rock, where nothing rushes forward and nothing needs to be resolved. And as you imagine standing at the edge of something so vast, you might begin to feel a subtle shift in your own sense of scale, because whatever feels large or overwhelming in your thoughts right now begins to shrink in comparison. The distance across this canyon alone is greater than most journeys you have ever taken, and yet for Mars, it is simply part of its surface, something it carries without effort, without urgency, without resistance. And in that realization, there is something quietly calming, because it reminds you that not everything needs to be solved tonight. Not everything needs to be understood or completed. Some things can simply exist, held within a larger context that softens their weight. If you let your mind drift along the length of this canyon, slowly, gently, as if you are floating above it, you may notice how your thoughts begin to stretch out as well, no longer tightly packed, no longer pressing against each other, but spreading into a wider, quieter space. There is no need to focus on any single detail, no need to follow any single idea, just a slow movement across a vast landscape where everything feels distant and calm. And somewhere within that stillness, something begins to settle. Because just like Mars, your mind does not need to keep shifting or reacting. It can rest in place, holding what it carries without needing to change it right now. The canyon remains silent and immense, and you can simply drift above it, letting its scale gently quiet the pace of your thoughts, guiding you further into a place where everything feels slower, softer, and easier to leave behind. You might assume that planets are stable, protected, enduring places, but Venus quietly tells a different story, because despite being almost the same size as Earth, with a similar composition and structure, it lacks one critical feature that changes everything: a global magnetic field, the invisible shield that protects a planet from the constant stream of charged particles flowing outward from the Sun. Without this protection, Venus has spent billions of years exposed, slowly reshaped by forces it cannot deflect, its atmosphere altered, its surface transformed into one of the most extreme environments in the solar system. On Earth, the magnetic field is generated deep within the planet, in the outer core, where molten iron moves and circulates, creating electric currents that produce a powerful magnetic shield, deflecting solar wind and preserving the atmosphere over time. This process, known as the dynamo effect, is what allows Earth to maintain conditions suitable for life, protecting not only the air we breathe, but also the stability of the climate itself. Venus, however, appears to have a very different internal structure, possibly with a core that does not circulate in the same way, or that has cooled and slowed to the point where this dynamo effect no longer functions, and without it, the planet is left exposed. Over immense stretches of time, the solar wind has interacted directly with Venus's upper atmosphere, gradually stripping away lighter elements, altering its composition, and contributing to the thick, dense envelope of carbon dioxide that now traps heat with extraordinary efficiency. This has led to a runaway greenhouse effect, where surface temperatures rise to over 460 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, creating a world where the surface is not only inhospitable, but completely alien compared to anything you have experienced. The sky is filled with thick clouds of sulfuric acid. The pressure at the surface is more than 90 times that of Earth, and sunlight barely reaches the ground in a meaningful way. And yet, what makes this transformation so fascinating is not just its intensity, but its gradual nature, because Venus was not always like this, and there is evidence suggesting that it may once have had more Earth-like conditions, perhaps even liquid water on its surface, before the slow loss of its protective shield allowed solar radiation to reshape its atmosphere over time. It was not a sudden change, not a single event, but a long, quiet process unfolding over hundreds of millions of years, almost imperceptible on a human timescale, but ultimately powerful enough to transform an entire world. As you reflect on that, you might begin to notice how different this kind of change feels, because it is not urgent, not immediate, not something that demands attention, but something that simply unfolds slowly and steadily without needing to be controlled. And in that realization, there is something calming, because it reminds you that not everything happens all at once. Not everything needs to be resolved tonight. Some things move on timescales far beyond your own, and they do so quietly, without pressure. So as Venus drifts in its orbit, wrapped in thick clouds, slowly turning in the opposite direction of most planets, you can let your own thoughts slow as well, releasing the need to solve or fix anything right now. Just like that distant world, things can change in their own time, in their own way, without urgency, without force. And as you continue to drift through this quiet system of planets and space, you may find that the need to hold on to your thoughts begins to fade, replaced by something softer, something calmer, something that gently carries you deeper into rest, where everything feels distant, quiet, and at peace. You might imagine rain as something familiar, in soft drops of water falling through clouds, touching the ground in a quiet, steady rhythm. But far out in the solar system, on planets like Uranus and Neptune, rain may take a form that feels almost impossible to picture, because deep within their atmospheres, under pressures millions of times greater than what you experience on Earth, it is possible that diamonds are slowly forming and falling through the darkness. And what makes this even more unusual is not just the material itself, but the environment in which it happens. A place with no surface you could stand on, no sky you could see, only layers upon layers of dense gas growing heavier and hotter the deeper you go, until something extraordinary begins to take shape. These planets are rich in methane, a simple molecule made of carbon and hydrogen, and under the extreme conditions deep inside these worlds, the methane can break apart, releasing carbon atoms that are then compressed by immense pressure. As these atoms are forced closer together, they begin to form crystalline structures, turning into diamonds, tiny at first, then larger, slowly drifting downward through the thick atmosphere like silent, glittering rain. Laboratory experiments here on Earth have recreated similar conditions using powerful lasers and shockwaves, showing that this process is not just theoretical, but physically possible. a reminder that even the most unexpected phenomena can emerge under the right conditions. And yet, despite how dramatic this sounds, this diamond rain does not fall with sound or spectacle. There is no shimmering light show, no sparkle visible to an observer. Well, it's because sunlight barely reaches these depths, and the atmosphere is too thick to allow light to travel freely. Instead, it happens in complete darkness, slowly, quietly, as countless tiny crystals descend through a world you could never see directly. It is a form of motion that exists entirely beyond human experience, not because it is too fast or too loud, but because it is too distant, too hidden, too subtle in its own environment. As you let your mind imagine this, you might begin to feel how different this kind of process is from anything in your daily life. Because here, nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. Everything unfolds naturally, guided only by the laws of physics, without urgency, without expectation. The diamonds do not hurry as they fall. They simply follow the path set by pressure and gravity, and moving deeper and deeper into the planet, where they may eventually melt again or become part of an even denser core. It is a continuous cycle, slow and quiet, happening over immense stretches of time, far removed from anything immediate. And in that distance, there is something calming, because it reminds you that not everything needs to be visible to be real. Not everything needs to be understood to exist. Some things can simply happen, quietly, beyond the reach of your thoughts. As you drift with this idea, you may notice your own mind becoming less focused on specific details, less attached to individual thoughts, and more open, more spacious, like the deep layers of those distant planets where everything moves slowly and without resistance. So as that silent rain continues to fall in the hidden depths of Uranus and Neptune, you can let your own thoughts settle in a similar way, gently descending, not needing to hold their shape, not needing to stay defined, just drifting downward into a quieter place where everything becomes softer, dimmer, and easier to release, carrying you further away from the surface of waking thought and closer to rest. You might think that all planets are active in similar ways, shifting, moving, reshaping themselves over time. But Earth holds something unique, something that quietly sets it apart from every other known world in the solar system, a system of plate tectonics, where the surface itself is divided into massive pieces that slowly drift across the planet, reshaping continents, building mountains, and recycling the very air you breathe. And what makes this so remarkable is not just that it happens, but that it happens continuously beneath your feet, even now, without you ever feeling it. These tectonic plates move at speeds of only a few centimeters per year, about as fast as your fingernails grow. And yet, over millions of years, they can completely transform the surface of the planet. Oceans open and close, continents collide and separate, mountains rise and erode, all through a process so slow that it feels almost like stillness, even though it is constantly in motion. This movement is driven by heat from deep within the Earth, where the mantle slowly circulates, carrying energy upward and allowing the crust to shift and adjust over time. Unlike Mars or Venus, which show signs of past activity but now appear largely stagnant, Earth remains dynamic, its surface continuously renewing itself. In this process, plays a crucial role in regulating the planet's climate because it allows carbon dioxide to be cycled between the atmosphere, oceans, and rocks, maintaining a balance that has kept temperatures within a range suitable for life over billions of years. Without plate tectonics, this balance might not exist, and Earth could have become a very different world. And yet, despite how essential this system is, it remains almost invisible in your daily life. You do not feel the continents moving. You do not see the slow rise of mountains or the subtle shifting of ocean floors, because these changes happen on timescales far beyond human perception. They unfold quietly, steadily, without urgency, without needing to be noticed. And in that, there is something deeply calming, because it shows that even the most important processes do not need to happen quickly or loudly to be effective. As you think about this, you might begin to feel a subtle connection, because just like the earth beneath you, your own mind does not need to move quickly to create change. Thoughts can shift slowly, gently, without force, without pressure. You do not need to solve everything at once. You do not need to understand everything immediately. Some changes can happen quietly beneath the surface, over time, without effort. And as the plates of the earth continue their slow, steady motion beneath you, you can let your own thoughts settle into a similar rhythm, not rushing, not pushing, just moving gently in the background, allowing space to open up between them. In that space, there is less tension, less urgency, and more calm in a quiet foundation that supports you without needing your attention. So for now, you can rest on this moving world, knowing that even as everything shifts beneath you, it does so slowly, steadily, and safely, carrying you along without effort, without demand, guiding you gently toward a deeper sense of stillness, where your thoughts no longer need to move at all, and you can simply drift, supported by something vast, quiet, and enduring. You might picture asteroids as lonely fragments drifting endlessly through space without connection. But that image is not entirely accurate, because some of these small, irregular bodies are not alone at all. They have companions, tiny moons orbiting them in delicate, almost fragile systems, bound together by gravity so subtle that it feels more like a quiet agreement than a force. And what makes this even more intriguing is how such small objects with such weak gravitational pull can still hold on to something, creating miniature systems that echo the structure of planets and moons on a much smaller scale. The first of these systems was discovered in 1993, when the spacecraft Galileo passed by the asteroid Ida and revealed a small moon orbiting it, later named Dactyl. Since then, scientists have identified dozens of similar systems, some with a single moon, others with multiple companions, and even binary asteroids where two bodies of similar size orbit each other in a slow, balanced dance. These systems form through different processes, sometimes through collisions that break apart larger bodies, with fragments remaining gravitationally bound, and other times through capture, where a passing object is gently pulled into orbit over time. What is remarkable is not just their existence, but their stability, because in the vast emptiness of space, even the smallest gravitational connection can persist for millions or even billions of years, as long as nothing disturbs it. There's no atmosphere to create drag No friction to slow them down, only the quiet influence of gravity holding these bodies together in slow, predictable paths. And as they orbit one another, they do so without urgency, without noise, without any need to change, simply continuing their motion in a steady, almost timeless rhythm. As you imagine these tiny worlds, you might begin to feel something shift in the way you think about connection. Because even in the emptiest regions of space, nothing is truly isolated. Even the smallest objects can form relationships, can move together, can exist in balance without needing to be large or powerful. And in that realization, there's something calming, because it suggests that stillness does not mean emptiness, and distance does not mean disconnection. You can let your thoughts follow one of these small moons as it circles its asteroid, slowly, gently, repeating the same path over and over again, not out of obligation, but because that is simply the way things are. There's no need for variation, no need for change, just a quiet, continuous motion that does not demand attention. And as you follow that path, your own thoughts may begin to soften, losing their sharp edges, becoming less defined, less urgent, more like gentle orbits than active concerns. And somewhere in that quiet repetition, something begins to settle, because just like those distant bodies, your mind does not need to move unpredictably. It can find a rhythm, a steady pattern that feels safe and calm. There's no need to rush forward, no need to solve or fix anything right now. Just a slow, continuous drift through a space that feels larger than any single thought. So as those small worlds continue their silent dance, held together by the faintest pull of gravity, you can let yourself rest within that same sense of gentle connection, knowing that even in stillness, even in quiet, there is something holding everything in place, something steady and calm, guiding you deeper into rest, one soft orbit at a time. You might think that every planet has an atmosphere like Earth, something thick enough to hold heat, to scatter light, to create skies and weather. But Mercury offers something very different, something so thin and delicate that it is not even considered a true atmosphere, but rather an exosphere, a faint, ghost-like layer of atoms that barely interact with one another, drifting around the planet in near vacuum. And what makes this even more unusual is how this exosphere forms, not from internal processes or stable gases, but from constant interaction with space itself. Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, exposed to intense solar radiation and a steady stream of charged particles known as the solar wind. Without a thick atmosphere or strong magnetic field to protect it, its surface is directly impacted by these particles, as well as by micrometeoroids, tiny fragments of rock that collide with the planet at high speeds. These impacts knock atoms off the surface, releasing elements like sodium, potassium, oxygen, and helium into the surrounding space, where they briefly linger before escaping entirely. This creates a constantly changing exosphere, one that is never stable, never complete, always forming and dissipating at the same time. Atoms are released, drift for a short while, and then are lost to space, only to be replaced by new ones in an ongoing cycle. It is not a system that holds on to anything, but one that continuously lets go, a quiet exchange between the planet and the vacuum around it. And as you imagine this, a world surrounded by a barely there veil of particles, you might begin to feel how different this is from the environments you are used to. Because here, there is no pressure, no density, no resistance, just a thin, fleeting presence that does not try to stay. And in that idea, there is something unexpectedly calming, because it reflects a different way of existing, one where things do not need to be held tightly, where they can come and go without effort. Mercury itself experiences extreme temperatures, scorching heat on the side facing the sun, and freezing cold on the side turned away, because without a thick atmosphere, there's nothing to distribute or retain heat. Yet even in these extremes, the exosphere remains delicate, subtle, almost invisible, detectable only through careful observation and sensitive instruments. It is a reminder that not everything important is obvious, not everything needs to be strong or stable to exist. As you let this idea settle into your mind, you might notice your thoughts becoming lighter, less attached, less fixed, and as if they too can drift for a while and then fade away. There's no need to hold on to every idea, no need to keep every concern present. Just like those atoms around Mercury, they can appear, linger briefly, and then gently disappear into the larger space around you. And as Mercury continues its quiet orbit around the sun, wrapped in its ghostly breath, you can allow your own thoughts to take on that same quality, soft, temporary, and free to move without resistance. In that lightness, there is less tension, less effort, and more space for rest, where everything feels quieter, more distant, and easier to release, guiding you gently toward a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might think of the sun as something constant, something stable and unchanging, a steady source of light that rises and sets with quiet reliability. But the truth is far more subtle and far more fascinating, because every single second, the sun is losing millions of tons of its own mass, quietly transforming itself into energy that spreads outward across the solar system. And what makes this even more intriguing is that this loss is not the result of decay or damage, but of a process that has been happening continuously for billions of years. Nuclear fusion, where hydrogen atoms in the sun's core are combined under immense pressure and temperature to form helium, releasing vast amounts of energy in the process. At the center of the sun, temperatures reach over 15 million degrees Celsius, and the pressure is so intense that atoms are forced together in ways that cannot happen anywhere else in the solar system. In this environment, four hydrogen nuclei merge through a series of reactions to form a single helium nucleus, and in doing so, a small amount of mass is converted directly into energy, as described by Einstein's equation. This energy moves outward slowly, taking hundreds of thousands of years to travel from the core to the surface, and then just over 8 minutes to reach Earth as sunlight. And yet, despite the scale of this transformation, despite the fact that over 4 million tons of mass are converted into energy every second, the sun remains overwhelmingly massive, holding more than 99.8% of all the material in the solar system. Its loss is gradual, almost imperceptible when compared to its total size, and it will continue this process for billions of years more before any significant change becomes visible. It is a quiet kind of transformation, one that happens continuously but never feels urgent, never demands attention, simply unfolding at its own pace. As you think about this, you might begin to notice how different this kind of change feels compared to the changes in your own life. Because here, nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. Everything happens exactly as it needs to, guided by fundamental laws that do not require intervention or control. The sun does not hurry as it burns. It does not resist its own transformation. It simply continues moment by moment, converting a tiny part of itself into light and warmth. And in that idea, there is something deeply calming, because it suggests that not all change needs to be sudden or overwhelming. Some of it can happen gradually, quietly, and in ways that are almost impossible to notice from one moment to the next. Just like the sun, you do not need to transform everything at once. You do not need to resolve every thought or feeling immediately. Some things can shift slowly, over time, without effort. As you let your mind drift with this process, you might begin to feel a gentle sense of release, because the need to hold on to everything begins to fade. Thoughts can come and go, just like the energy leaving the sun, flowing outward without resistance, without needing to be pulled back. There's no urgency here, no pressure, just a steady rhythm of quiet change that continues whether you focus on it or not. So as the sun continues its slow transformation, shining light across the darkness of space, you can allow your own thoughts to soften in the same way, a gradually letting go of what no longer needs to stay, becoming lighter, calmer, and more distant until they drift quietly into the background, leaving behind a sense of warmth and stillness that gently carries you closer to sleep. You might imagine Saturn's rings as something permanent, a defining feature that has always existed and will always remain. But the reality is far more delicate, because these vast, shimmering bands of ice and rock are slowly disappearing, falling inward toward the planet in a process that scientists call ring rain. And what makes this even more fascinating is how something so large, stretching over 280,000 kilometers across, can also be so temporary, existing only for a brief moment in cosmic time. The rings are made mostly of water ice, yet with particles ranging in size from tiny grains to objects as large as houses, all orbiting Saturn in a thin, flat disk. In many places, this disk is less than 100 meters thick, thinner than many buildings on Earth, and yet it spans a distance so vast that it could stretch from Earth to the Moon and beyond. These particles move in precise orbits, guided by Saturn's gravity and influenced by small moons known as shepherd moons, which help maintain the structure of the rings by keeping particles in place and creating gaps and patterns within the system. But over time, this balance is slowly breaking down. Charged particles from the Sun and Saturn's own magnetic field interact with the icy fragments, causing them to lose energy and spiral inward. As they fall toward the planet, they eventually enter its atmosphere, where they vaporize and become part of the gas giant itself. This process is slow but measurable, and current observations suggest that Saturn's rings may be less than 100 million years old and could disappear entirely within a few 100 million years more. And yet, despite this gradual loss, the rings do not appear to be fading when you look at them. They still shine brightly, reflecting sunlight in a way that makes them one of the most beautiful sights in the solar system. This contrast between their current brilliance and their inevitable disappearance creates a quiet sense of impermanence, a reminder that even the most striking features can exist only for a limited time. As you think about this, you might begin to feel how different this perspective is from the way you usually experience time, because here, change happens so slowly that it feels almost like stillness. The rings are not vanishing in a dramatic way. They are simply shifting, particle by particle, over immense periods, without urgency, without pressure, without any need to be noticed. And in that realization, there is something calming, because it allows you to let go of the idea that everything must remain fixed or unchanged. Just like Saturn's rings, things can evolve, can transform, can slowly fade or shift without needing to be held in place. There's no need to resist that movement, no need to control it, just an acceptance that everything exists within its own time, its own rhythm. As you imagine those icy particles drifting inward, one by one, you might feel your own thoughts doing something similar, gently settling, losing their sharpness, becoming less defined, until they are no longer something you need to follow or hold on to. They simply move slowly and quietly toward a place where they dissolve into something softer and more peaceful. So as Saturn continues its silent orbit, its rings slowly falling like a delicate, invisible rain, you can allow yourself to rest within that same gentle process, letting go without effort, drifting further into stillness, where everything feels calm, distant, and at ease, guiding you softly towards sleep. You might imagine that the most powerful storms in the solar system would feel violent, loud, impossible to ignore. But Jupiter quietly challenges that expectation, because it holds a storm so vast that it could swallow Earth whole. And yet from a distance, it appears almost calm, like a slow swirling pattern painted across the planet's surface. Yet this storm is known as the Great Red Spot, and it has been raging for at least 350 years, possibly much longer, making it one of the longest lasting storms ever observed, not just on Jupiter, but anywhere in the solar system. What makes this storm so unusual is not only its size, but its persistence, because on Earth, storms are temporary, forming and dissipating within days or weeks, driven by changes in temperature and pressure that quickly balance themselves out. But on Jupiter, there is no solid surface to disrupt the flow, no land to absorb energy, only deep layers of gas that allow storms to continue almost indefinitely. Winds at the edges of the Great Red Spot can reach speeds of over 400 kilometers per hour, circling the storm in a massive, continuous motion that never seems to stop. And yet, from far away, it looks like a quiet spiral, slow and steady. Jupiter itself is a gas giant, composed mostly of hydrogen and helium, with no solid surface you could stand on, only layers that become denser and hotter as you move deeper. Its atmosphere is filled with bands of clouds moving in opposite directions, creating a pattern of alternating light and dark stripes that wrap around the planet. Within these bands, storms form and interact, merging, separating, and sometimes growing into enormous systems like the Great Red Spot. And all of this happens without sound, without any noise reaching beyond the thin edges of the atmosphere. Because in space, even the most powerful motion remains silent. As you picture this immense storm turning slowly in the distance, you might begin to notice something subtle in the way it affects your thoughts. And because Instead of feeling chaotic, it feels distant, contained, almost peaceful in its repetition. The storm does not rush, it does not demand attention, it simply exists, continuing its motion without needing to change or resolve. And in that, there is something calming, because it shows that even the most intense processes can unfold without urgency, without pressure, without needing to be controlled. You can let your mind follow the edge of that storm, tracing its slow rotation, not focusing on any single detail, just observing the steady movement, the continuous flow that never quite stops, but never feels overwhelming either. And as you do, your own thoughts may begin to take on that same quality, less sharp, less urgent, more like gentle currents moving in a pattern that does not need to be understood. There is no need to hold on to any one thought, no need to follow it to its conclusion. Just like the clouds of Jupiter, they can drift, merge, and separate without effort, without intention. And as they do, something inside you begins to settle, because the need to control or direct your thinking starts to fade, replaced by a quiet acceptance of whatever motion remains. So as the great red spot continues its slow, endless rotation, you can allow yourself to drift alongside it, carried by a rhythm that is steady and calm, where even something vast and powerful becomes soft and distant, guiding you gently into a deeper state of rest, where everything feels quieter, slower, and easier to release. You might look at a frozen world and assume it is lifeless, still, completely inactive. But Europa, one of Jupiter's largest moons, it quietly challenges that assumption, because beneath its thick shell of ice, there is strong evidence for a vast, global ocean of liquid water, hidden from view, moving slowly in darkness. And what makes this even more remarkable is how this ocean can exist at all, so far from the sun, where temperatures are far below freezing and sunlight is too weak to provide meaningful heat. The answer lies not in light, but in gravity, because Europa is constantly being stretched and squeezed by Jupiter's immense gravitational pull, along with the influence of neighboring moons. This process, known as tidal heating, generates internal friction, producing enough heat to keep the ocean beneath the ice from freezing solid. The surface you see, if you could stand there, is a vast expanse of cracked and shifting ice, marked by long, dark lines and ridges that trace the movement beneath. These features suggest that the ice shell is not static, but slowly moving, breaking, and reforming over time, almost like tectonic plates on Earth, but made of ice instead of rock. What lies beneath that surface remains hidden, but measurements of Europa's magnetic field and surface chemistry strongly support the existence of a salty, conductive ocean, possibly containing more water than all of Earth's oceans combined. And within that ocean, conditions may exist that are suitable for life, not life as you know it, perhaps, but simple forms that could survive in darkness, sustained by chemical energy rather than sunlight. It is a quiet possibility, not confirmed, not visible, but present, waiting beneath the surface. As you imagine this, a vast ocean moving slowly under a frozen shell, you might begin to feel a shift in how you think about stillness, because what appears calm and unmoving on the outside may hold something active and alive beneath. And in that idea, there's something comforting, because it reflects a different kind of quiet, one that is not empty but full, not inactive but simply hidden. You can let your thoughts settle onto the surface of that icy world, noticing the stillness, the cold, the quiet, and then gently drift downward, imagining the ocean below, dark and slow, moving without waves, without wind, without any need to hurry. There is no light here, no sound, only a steady, gentle motion that does not demand attention. And as you follow that motion, your own thoughts may begin to feel deeper, slower, and less connected to the surface of your awareness, as if they are sinking into a quieter layer where everything feels more distant and calm. There is no need to bring them back up, no need to analyze or understand them. They can simply exist in that deeper space, moving gently without direction. So as Europa continues its silent orbit around Jupiter, its hidden ocean shifting beneath the ice, you can allow yourself to drift into that same quiet depth where everything feels softer, darker, and more peaceful, carrying you gently away from the surface of waking thought and into a place where rest comes naturally, without effort, without resistance. You might imagine that the tallest mountains must come from constant motion, from plates colliding, from landscapes shifting and rising over time. But Mars holds something different. It's something almost impossibly large that grew not through movement, but through stillness. Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system, rises nearly 22 kilometers above the Martian surface, almost 3 times the height of Mount Everest, and stretches so wide that it would cover an entire region the size of a US state. And yet, what makes this mountain so unusual is not just its size, but the quiet way it formed, layer by layer, without ever needing to shift its position. On Earth, volcanoes are often part of moving tectonic plates, meaning that over time, the source of magma beneath them shifts, creating chains of volcanoes rather than a single towering structure. But Mars does not have active plate tectonics. Its crust remains largely fixed in place. And because of that, magma rising from deep within the planet continued to erupt from the same location over millions of years. Each eruption added a new layer, slowly building Olympus Mons higher and wider, until it became something so vast that its slopes are barely noticeable when standing on them, rising so gradually that you might not even realize you are on a mountain at all. The atmosphere of Mars is thin, composed mostly of carbon dioxide, and with lower gravity than Earth, it allows volcanic structures to grow much taller without collapsing under their own weight. This combination of factors, a stationary crust, long-lasting volcanic activity, and reduced gravity, created a world where something immense could form quietly, without interruption, without urgency, simply through repetition over time. And now, Olympus Mons stands silent, its last eruptions likely millions of years in the past, preserved in a state that feels almost timeless. As you imagine this enormous mountain rising slowly out of a quiet red landscape, you might begin to feel how different this kind of growth is from what you are used to. Because here, nothing rushed, nothing forced the process forward. Everything happened gradually, almost imperceptibly, until something extraordinary emerged. And then in that realization, there's something calming, because it reminds you that not everything needs to happen quickly to become meaningful. Not every change needs to be dramatic to matter. You can let your thoughts follow the slopes of Olympus Mons, moving slowly upward, not climbing with effort, but drifting as if carried by a gentle current, noticing how smooth and gradual the rise feels, as there is no sharp edge, no sudden shift, just a steady progression that does not demand your attention. And as you move along that surface, your own thoughts may begin to feel less steep, less urgent, more like gentle inclines that you can move across without resistance. There's no need to reach the top, no need to arrive anywhere, just a quiet movement across something vast and stable. And in that space, something inside you begins to settle because the pressure to move quickly, to finish, to resolve, starts to fade. You are simply drifting, supported by something that took millions of years to form, something that exists without needing to change. So as Olympus Mons rests under the silent sky of Mars, you can allow yourself to rest as well, letting your thoughts slow to the same gentle pace, where everything feels steady, grounded, and calm, guiding you softly into a deeper state of stillness, where there is nowhere to go and nothing you need to do. You might imagine Saturn's rings as thick, solid bands, something dense and clearly defined, but the reality is far more delicate, because despite stretching over hundreds of thousands of kilometers, these rings are incredibly thin, in many places less than 100 meters thick, making them thinner than many buildings on Earth. And what makes this even more fascinating is how something so wide can also be so fragile, composed not of a single structure, but of countless individual particles moving together in a flat, precise formation. These particles are made mostly of water ice, reflecting sunlight and giving the rings their bright, shimmering appearance, because they range in size from tiny grains of dust to large chunks comparable to houses, each one following its own orbit around Saturn, guided by the planet's gravity. From a distance, the rings appear smooth and continuous, like a solid disk, but up close, they are more like a vast, thin cloud of orbiting fragments, each moving independently, yet forming a coherent structure through their collective motion. The flatness of the rings is maintained through a balance of forces, Saturn's gravity pulling particles inward, their orbital motion keeping them from falling, and collisions between particles gently adjusting their paths, keeping them aligned within a narrow plane. Small moons, known as shepherd moons, also play a role, their gravitational influence creating gaps, waves, and intricate patterns within the rings, and shaping them into the complex structures observed by spacecraft like Cassini. And yet, despite all this motion, the rings maintain an appearance of stillness, because everything moves in the same general direction, at similar speeds, creating a system where relative motion is minimal. There is no chaos, no sudden disruption, just a steady, organized flow that continues without interruption. And in that, there is something deeply calming, because it shows how complexity can exist without disorder, how countless individual movements can come together to create something that feels simple and serene. As you picture these rings stretching out across space, thin and luminous, you might begin to feel your own thoughts aligning in a similar way, no longer scattered or competing for attention, but settling into a more even, more balanced pattern. There is no need to focus on any single thought, no need to follow any one path, just a gentle awareness of everything moving together in a quiet, coordinated rhythm. You can imagine drifting alongside the rings, moving with them, not against them, feeling the steady motion without needing to control it. Each particle continues its path without hesitation, without doubt, simply following the forces that guide it. And as you align with that motion, your own mind begins to feel less resistant, less tense, more willing to let things flow as they are. There's no need to hold on to anything tightly, no need to create structure or force direction, because just like Saturn's rings, everything can find its place naturally through gentle movement and quiet balance. And as that realization settles in, something inside you begins to relax, releasing the need for control, allowing your thought to drift more freely, more softly. So as Saturn's rings continue their silent orbit, thin and luminous against the darkness of space, you can let yourself drift with them, carried by a rhythm that is steady and calm, where everything feels light, balanced, and at ease, guiding you gently toward a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might think that the largest planet must also be the densest, that something like Jupiter, with its immense size, would contain the most mass packed into the smallest space. But the truth is quietly different, because Earth, the planet beneath you right now, is actually the densest world in the solar system. And what makes this so unusual is not something you can feel directly, but something that exists deep beneath your feet, hidden within layers you'll never see. Earth's average density is about 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter, higher than any other planet, even higher than gas giants that contain far more total mass. This is because Earth is made of heavy materials, especially iron and nickel, concentrated in a dense core that formed early in the planet's history, when heavier elements sank inward under the force of gravity. This process, known as differentiation, created a layered structure, a solid inner core, a molten outer core, a thick mantle, and a relatively thin crust where life exists. And while you experience the surface as stable and solid, everything beneath it is arranged in a way that gives the planet its compact, heavy nature. That dense core does more than simply exist. It moves. The molten iron in the outer core flows slowly, driven by heat escaping from deeper layers, and as it moves, it generates electric currents that create Earth's magnetic field. This invisible shield extends far into space, protecting the planet from solar radiation and helping to preserve the atmosphere over billions of years. Without it, Earth might have lost much of its air, much like Mars, leaving the surface exposed and far less hospitable. And yet, despite all of this complexity, despite the immense weight and motion hidden beneath you, you do not feel it. You do not sense the dense core turning. You do not notice the magnetic field surrounding you. You simply exist on the surface, held gently by gravity, supported by something vast and powerful that does not require your attention. And in that, there is something deeply calming, because it reminds you that not everything important needs to be visible or understood to be effective. As you lie here, you are being held in place by this dense, layered world, grounded by a force that is steady and constant. There's no need to hold yourself up, no need to maintain balance or control, because the planet itself is doing that for you. And as you become aware of that, even slightly, you might feel a subtle release, a softening of tension, as your body realizes it does not need to carry its own weight in the same way. You can let that idea settle in, that beneath you is something incredibly solid, incredibly stable, something that has existed for billions of years and will continue long after this moment has passed. There is no urgency here, no instability, just a quiet foundation that supports everything without effort. And as you rest on that foundation, your thoughts can begin to settle as well, becoming heavier in a gentle way, not weighed down, but grounded, less likely to drift into urgency or repetition. They can slow, spread out, and eventually fade into the background, just like the deep layers of the earth that move without being seen. So as this dense world continues its silent rotation beneath you, you can allow yourself to rest more fully, supported by something vast and steady, letting go of the need to hold on to anything and drifting gently into a deeper state of calm where everything feels secure, quiet, and at ease. You might think of the sun as a constant, unchanging sphere of light, something that simply shines without variation. But in reality, it is always moving, always vibrating, and producing waves that ripple through its entire structure like the surface of a vast, invisible instrument. And what makes this even more fascinating is that these vibrations are not random. They form patterns, oscillations that scientists can study to understand what is happening deep inside the sun, in regions that can never be directly observed. These waves are caused by convection, the movement of hot plasma rising and cooler plasma sinking, creating pressure changes that send ripples through the sun's interior. These ripples travel outward, bounce off different layers, and interfere with one another, creating a complex pattern of oscillations that can be measured from a distance. This field of study, known as heliosismology, allows scientists to map the internal structure of the sun in much the same way that geologists use seismic waves to study the interior of Earth. The frequencies of these oscillations are extremely low, far below the range of human hearing. But if they could be converted into sound, the sun would produce a deep, continuous hum, a slow, steady tone that reflects the movement of energy within it. It is not a sharp or sudden sound, but something more like a background presence, constant and unchanging, always there, but never demanding attention. And yet, despite this constant activity, the sun appears calm from a distance, a smooth, glowing surface without any obvious sign of the waves moving beneath it. This contrast between hidden motion and visible stillness is something that repeats throughout the solar system, and it is something your mind can begin to resonate with, because not everything that moves needs to be seen. Not everything that changes needs to be noticed. As you imagine these slow vibrations moving through the sun, you might begin to feel a subtle shift in your own awareness, because instead of focusing on individual thoughts, you begin to sense something more continuous, more stable, like a background rhythm that does not change even as individual ideas come and go. Your breathing may begin to match that rhythm, slow and steady, rising and falling without effort, without needing to be controlled. There is no need to listen for anything specific, no need to follow any particular thought, just a gentle awareness of something constant beneath the surface of your mind. And as you rest in that awareness, the sharper edges of your thoughts begin to soften, blending into a more continuous flow that feels easier to let go of. Just like the sun, your mind can hold movement without disturbance, can contain change without losing its sense of calm. There is no need to silence everything, no need to stop thinking completely, just a gradual shift toward a quieter, more even state where everything feels less intense, less immediate. So as the sun continues its silent song, vibrating gently in the vastness of space, you can allow yourself to drift with that rhythm, carried by something steady and constant, where thoughts no longer need to stand out or demand attention, and everything begins to merge into a softer, quieter experience, guiding you gently towards sleep. You might assume that the way your world moves is universal. There's that the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west, that day and night follow a predictable rhythm everywhere. But Venus quietly breaks that expectation in a way that feels almost unsettling at first, because on this planet, the sun would appear to rise in the west and set in the east, moving backward across the sky. And what makes this even more unusual is not just the direction, but the pace, because Venus rotates so slowly that a single day there lasts longer than an entire year. A full rotation of Venus takes about 243 Earth days, while it completes an orbit around the Sun in just 225 Earth days. This means that if you could stand on its surface, the Sun would take an incredibly long time to cross the sky, moving so slowly that its motion would feel almost imperceptible. Hours would pass with barely any change in its position, and days would stretch into something far beyond your usual sense of time. And yet, despite this slow rotation, Venus is wrapped in thick clouds that block direct sunlight. So even this gradual movement is hidden behind a dense, glowing atmosphere. The reason for this unusual rotation is not fully understood, but scientists believe it may be the result of a massive collision early in the planet's history, or long-term interactions with the sun's gravity that gradually altered its spin. Whatever the cause, Venus now turns in the opposite direction of most planets, a retrograde rotation that sets it apart from nearly everything else in the solar system. It is a world moving against the pattern, following its own quiet rhythm without needing to align with anything around it. As you imagine this, a planet where time moves differently, where the sun drifts slowly in reverse, you might begin to feel a shift in your own sense of pace, because what feels slow here on Earth becomes almost still on Venus. The urgency of minutes and hours begins to lose its meaning, replaced by something much broader, much more extended. And in that, there is something calming, because it suggests that not everything needs to follow the same rhythm. Not everything needs to move quickly or in the same direction as everything else. You can let your thoughts slow down with that idea, not forcing them, not trying to control their pace, just allowing them to stretch out, to take more time, to exist without needing to reach a conclusion. There's no need to follow the usual patterns, no need to think in straight lines or quick sequences, just a gentle drift through a space where time feels softer and less defined. And as Venus continues its slow, backward rotation, wrapped in clouds and moving at its own pace, you can allow yourself to do the same, letting go of the need to move forward quickly, letting go of the pressure to keep up with anything at all. There is nowhere you need to be right now, nothing you need to finish, just a quiet moment where everything can slow down together. So as that distant world turns in silence, its long day unfolding without urgency, you can drift along with it, feeling your thoughts become slower, softer, and more distant, until they no longer feel like something you need to follow, but something you can simply let pass, gently guiding you deeper into rest. You might think of planets as solitary, each one moving alone in its orbit, but Jupiter quietly reveals a different kind of structure because it is surrounded by a vast collection of moons, more than 90 known so far, each one following its own path around the giant planet. And what makes this even more fascinating is how these moons vary so dramatically, from large, complex worlds with oceans and volcanoes to tiny, irregular fragments captured from the surrounding space. The 4 largest moons, known as the Galilean moons, were first observed by Galileo Galilei in 1610, and they remain some of the most intriguing objects in the solar system. Io is a world of constant volcanic activity, its surface reshaped by eruptions driven by tidal forces. Europa, as you have already imagined, may hold a vast ocean beneath its icy shell. Ganymede is the largest moon in the solar system, even bigger than the planet Mercury, and it possesses its own magnetic field. Callisto, heavily cratered and ancient, may also hide an ocean beneath its surface, quietly existing without obvious signs of activity. Beyond these larger moons lies a collection of smaller ones, irregular in shape and often moving in unusual orbits, some traveling in the opposite direction of Jupiter's rotation, suggesting that they were not formed alongside the planet, but captured later, pulled into orbit by its immense gravity. These moons are scattered, distant, and diverse, forming a system that feels more like a miniature solar system than a simple collection of satellites. And yet, despite the complexity of this system, everything moves in a steady, predictable way, each moon following its path, influenced by gravity but not disturbed by it, in maintaining a balance that allows the entire system to persist over long periods of time. There's no chaos here, no sudden disruption, just a quiet orchestration of motion that continues without needing attention. As you imagine these many moons circling Jupiter, you might begin to feel a sense of expansion in your thoughts, because instead of focusing on a single point, your awareness spreads outward, encompassing multiple paths, multiple motions, all happening at once without conflict. And in that, there is something calming, because it shows that complexity does not need to feel overwhelming. It can exist in a state of balance, where everything has its place. You can let your mind drift from one moon to another, not lingering on any single one, just moving gently between them, and noticing how each follows its own rhythm without interfering with the others. There is no need to choose, no need to focus, just a soft awareness of many things existing together in a quiet, stable system. And as you do, your own thoughts may begin to feel less crowded, less demanding, because they no longer need to compete for attention. They can exist side by side, like those distant moons, each one following its own path without needing to be resolved or completed. So as Jupiter continues its silent rotation, surrounded by its many companions, you can allow your mind to settle into that same sense of gentle complexity, where everything moves quietly together, without pressure, without urgency, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might assume that the closest planet to the Sun would be completely dry, stripped of anything fragile like ice. But Mercury quietly holds a contradiction that feels almost impossible at first, because in the deepest shadows near its poles, water ice has been found, preserved for millions or even billions of years. And what makes this so unusual is not just the presence of ice, but the environment that allows it to survive, a place of extreme heat and cold existing side by side on the same world. Mercury has almost no atmosphere, only a thin exosphere, which means it cannot trap heat or distribute it evenly across its surface. As a result, temperatures on the side facing the sun can reach over 430 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead, while the side facing away from the sun can drop to negative 180 degrees Celsius. These extremes create conditions where certain regions, in especially deep craters near the poles, never receive direct sunlight at all. These permanently shadowed regions remain in constant darkness, acting like natural cold traps where temperatures stay low enough for water ice to remain stable. The discovery of this ice was confirmed through radar observations and later by spacecraft missions such as Messenger, which detected bright, reflective deposits in these shadowed craters. Scientists believe the ice may have been delivered by comets or water-rich asteroids that impacted Mercury long ago, leaving behind material that became trapped in these dark, protected areas. Over time, this ice has remained shielded from the sun's heat by the crater walls that block light entirely. As you imagine this, a world scorched by intense sunlight, yet holding pockets of frozen stillness, you might begin to feel a shift in how you think about extremes, because it shows that even in the most intense environments, there can be places of calm, of preservation, of quiet stability. Not everything is defined by its surroundings, and even in the harshest conditions, something gentle can remain. You can let your thoughts move into one of those shadowed craters, stepping away from the brightness and into a space that never sees the sun. It is quiet there, still, untouched by change, a place where nothing rushes, nothing shifts, nothing demands attention. And as you rest in that imagined space, your own thoughts may begin to cool, becoming less active, less intense, more settled. There's no need to hold on to the heat of the day, no need to carry the brightness of everything that has happened, because just like those hidden craters, you can move into a place within yourself that is protected, calm, and steady. Thoughts can slow, soften, and eventually rest, like ice preserved in darkness. So as Mercury continues its orbit, turning between extremes of heat and cold, you can allow yourself to drift into that quieter side, where everything feels cooler, calmer, and more distant, guiding you gently toward a deeper sense of stillness, where rest becomes natural and effortless. You might think of Pluto as a frozen, inactive world, too far from the sun to hold anything dynamic or alive. But recent observations suggest something far more intriguing, because beneath its icy surface, there may be a hidden ocean, quietly existing in darkness, much like the one beneath Europa, but even farther from the warmth of the sun. And what makes this possibility so fascinating is how such a distant cold world could still hold something in motion, something that has not completely frozen over time. At the surface of Pluto, temperatures are incredibly low, around negative 220 degrees Celsius, cold enough for nitrogen and methane to freeze into solid ice. One of its most striking features is a large, heart-shaped region, known as Sputnik Planitia, a vast basin filled with nitrogen ice that reflects sunlight brightly. But this feature may be more than just a surface formation, because its structure and behavior suggest that something beneath it may be influencing its shape. Scientists believe that beneath Pluto's icy crust, there could be a layer of liquid water. It kept from freezing by a combination of internal heat from radioactive decay and the insulating properties of the thick ice above. This subsurface ocean would not be warm or active in the way oceans on Earth are, but it would still represent a form of quiet motion, a slow shifting of water beneath a frozen shell, hidden from view but still present. What makes this even more compelling is the way Sputnik Planitia appears to have reoriented Pluto slightly, as if the mass of the basin and the underlying ocean caused the entire planet to adjust its position over time. This suggests that the interior is not completely solid, not completely still, but capable of movement, even if that movement is incredibly slow. As you imagine this distant world, so far from the sun that it receives only a faint trace of light, you might begin to feel a sense of quiet wonder, because even here, at the edge of the solar system, there may be something gently shifting beneath the surface. It is not visible, not obvious, but it exists, a reminder that stillness does not always mean inactivity. You can let your thoughts drift across that icy surface, noticing the stillness, the vastness, the quiet, and then gently imagine what lies beneath, a slow, hidden movement that does not need to be seen to be real. And as you do, your own thoughts may begin to settle in a similar way, moving beneath the surface of your awareness, no longer active or urgent, but simply present in a quieter, deeper form. There's no need to bring those thoughts back up, no need to examine or understand them, just a gentle awareness that they can exist without needing your attention. Like Pluto's hidden ocean, they can move quietly in the background without disrupting the calm surface of your mind. So as Pluto continues its long orbit, taking 248 Earth years to circle the Sun, drifting slowly in the distant darkness, you can allow yourself to move with that same quiet rhythm, letting everything slow down, soften, and settle into a deeper layer of rest where thoughts no longer rise to the surface, and you can drift gently into sleep. You might imagine the asteroid belt as a crowded, dangerous region, filled with tumbling rocks constantly colliding with one another. But the reality is far quieter, far more spacious than most people expect, because the asteroid belt is mostly empty space. Even though it contains millions of rocky bodies, yet the distances between them are so vast that a spacecraft could pass through without ever coming close to a single object. And what makes this even more surprising is how something described as a belt can feel so open, so calm, almost like a wide, silent ocean rather than a dense field of debris. The asteroid belt lies between Mars and Jupiter, a region shaped by the early formation of the solar system. Scientists believe that the material there once had the potential to form a planet, but the strong gravitational influence of Jupiter prevented this from happening, keeping the fragments scattered and separate instead of allowing them to come together. The result is a collection of ancient objects, remnants from the early solar system, each one carrying a record of how planets once began to form. And the total mass of the asteroid belt is surprisingly small, less than 5% of the mass of Earth's moon, with most of that mass concentrated in just a few large objects like Ceres and Vesta. The rest are smaller fragments spread out across an immense volume of space. This distribution creates an environment where emptiness dominates, where the presence of objects is real, but their separation is even more significant. As you imagine drifting through this region, moving slowly between distant rocks that barely come into view, you might begin to feel a shift in your perception of space, because instead of focusing on what is there, you become aware of what is not. The emptiness is not something to fear, but something that creates calm, something that allows everything else to exist without pressure or interference. And you can let your thoughts move into that emptiness, not searching for anything, not trying to find meaning or direction, just drifting through a space where nothing demands your attention. There's no need to hold on to any single idea, no need to navigate around anything, just a gentle awareness of openness, of distance, of quiet. And as you continue to drift, your thoughts may begin to spread out as well, becoming less crowded, less intense, more like distant objects separated by vast stretches of calm. There is no need to bring them together, no need to organize or resolve them. They can simply exist, spaced apart in a way that feels natural and unforced. In that openness, something begins to settle, because the absence of pressure allows everything to relax. There is no urgency here, no expectation, just a wide and quiet field where your mind can rest without needing to focus on anything at all. So as the asteroid belt continues its slow orbit around the Sun, filled with distant fragments and endless space between them, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of openness, letting your thoughts drift farther apart, softer and quieter, until they fade gently into the background, leaving only a calm, spacious stillness that carries you deeper into sleep. You might imagine that all planets spin in a similar way, rotating upright like a spinning top. But Uranus quietly defies that expectation, because it is tilted so dramatically that it appears to roll along its orbit, almost like a ball moving around the Sun, with an axial tilt of about 98 degrees. Uranus is essentially lying on its side, causing its poles to point almost directly toward the Sun at different times in its long orbit. This unusual orientation creates seasons unlike anything you experience on Earth. Each pole of Uranus can face the Sun continuously for about 42 Earth years, followed by 42 years of darkness. These extended periods of light and shadow create an environment where change happens slowly, where transitions are not marked by days or months, but by decades. It is a world where time stretches out, where nothing shifts quickly, where everything unfolds with a quiet, steady rhythm. The cause of this extreme tilt is still not fully understood, but scientists believe it may be the result of a massive collision early in the planet's history, an event that gently pushed it over into its current orientation. Instead of correcting itself, Uranus continued along this new path, settling into a rotation that feels completely different from the other planets. And yet, despite how unusual it is, this motion is stable, consistent, and unchanging over time. As you imagine this distant planet slowly rolling through space, you might begin to feel how different this kind of motion is from the rapid changes you are used to. Because here, nothing shifts quickly, nothing demands immediate attention. Even the transition from light to darkness takes decades, giving everything a sense of calm continuity rather than sudden change. You can let your thoughts move with that same slow rhythm, not spinning quickly from one idea to another, but gently rolling, taking their time, allowing each moment to extend a little longer without needing to move on. There is no need to rush through anything, no need to keep up with a fast pace, just a quiet unfolding of one thought into the next. And as you settle into that slower movement, something inside you begins to relax because the pressure to move quickly starts to fade. Your breathing may slow, your body may feel heavier or softer, as if it is no longer being pulled forward by time, but simply resting within it. Uranus continues its silent journey, rolling gently along its path, unaffected by urgency, unaffected by expectation, just existing in its own steady rhythm. And as you drift alongside it, you can allow yourself to do the same, letting go of the need to move quickly, letting your thoughts slow and stretch until they become softer, quieter, and easier to release. So as this tilted world continues its calm, steady motion, you can rest within that same sense of gentle movement, where everything feels slower, more spacious, and more at ease, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might imagine that danger in space would be obvious, something you could see or hear approaching. But around Jupiter, there exists a region so intense that it could silently damage anything unprotected within hours, and yet it remains completely invisible, impossible to sense without instruments. Jupiter's radiation belts are among the most powerful in the solar system, filled with high-energy particles trapped by the planet's immense magnetic field, moving at near light speed, circling the planet in quiet, relentless motion. These belts are similar in concept to Earth's Van Allen radiation belts, but far stronger and extending deep into space and carrying enough energy to disrupt electronics, degrade materials, and pose a serious threat to spacecraft. And still, despite all of this intensity, there is no sound, no visible warning, nothing that would alert you to their presence if you were somehow nearby. It is a form of activity that exists entirely beyond human perception, powerful but silent, present but unseen. Jupiter's magnetic field is the largest structure of its kind in the solar system, generated by the movement of electrically conductive material deep within the planet, likely metallic hydrogen under immense pressure. This field stretches millions of kilometers into space, capturing charged particles from the solar wind and from volcanic eruptions on its moon Io, feeding the radiation belts with a continuous supply of energy. And yet, despite this constant input, the system remains stable, organized, and predictable, following patterns that do not change suddenly or without reason. As you imagine this, a vast region of invisible motion surrounding a distant planet, you might begin to notice something subtle, because even though the energy is intense, it does not feel chaotic. It moves in defined paths, guided by magnetic fields, held in place by forces that maintain order without needing to be seen. And in that, there is something calming, because it shows that even powerful systems can exist in balance, even when they are far beyond your ability to perceive them directly. You can let your thoughts drift through that invisible space, not trying to see or understand everything, just allowing yourself to be aware that it exists, quietly active, quietly structured, and there's no need to react, no need to analyze, just a gentle acceptance that not everything needs to be sensed to be real. And as you do, your own thoughts may begin to feel less intense because the need to notice every detail, to understand every sensation, starts to fade. Just like those radiation belts, your thoughts can move in the background, following their own patterns without needing your attention. There is no urgency here, no pressure to interpret or respond, just a quiet system continuing as it always has, steady and contained. And as you rest within that awareness, something inside you begins to soften, because the need to engage with every thought starts to dissolve. So as Jupiter's invisible radiation continues its silent motion, you can allow yourself to step back from the surface of your thoughts, letting them exist without interference, without focus, guiding you gently into a calmer, deeper space where everything feels distant, quiet, and at ease. You might think of the solar system as a collection of many objects, planets, moons, asteroids, and comets, all sharing space in some balanced way. But the truth is far more weighted, far more centered, because the Sun contains more than 99.8% of all the mass in the entire solar system. Everything else, every planet, every moon, every fragment of rock and ice, makes up only a tiny fraction of what exists here. This means that the Sun is not just the center of the solar system in position, but in influence. Its gravity holds everything in orbit, from the closest planet, Mercury, to distant objects in the far reaches beyond Neptune. Without that immense mass, the solar system as you know it would not exist. There would be no stable orbits, no predictable paths, no structure to hold everything together. The Sun's mass is also what allows it to sustain nuclear fusion in its core, generating the energy that radiates outward as light and heat. This energy supports the climates of planets, drives atmospheric motion, and ultimately makes life on Earth possible. And yet, despite its importance, the Sun operates quietly, steadily, without sudden change, maintaining its output over billions of years with remarkable consistency. As you consider this, you might begin to feel a shift in perspective, because instead of focusing on the many separate parts of the solar system, you begin to see how everything is connected through a single source. Every orbit, every motion, every interaction is influenced by the Sun's presence, even if it is not always obvious. And in that, there is something calming, because it simplifies the complexity of everything you might be thinking about. You can let your thoughts gather around this idea, not as separate, scattered pieces, but as part of a larger whole, gently held together by something steady and constant. There's no need to keep track of everything individually, no need to follow each thought to its conclusion, because they are all part of the same quiet system, moving together in a way that does not require your control. And as you allow that sense of connection to settle in, something inside you begins to relax, because the need to manage or organize your thoughts starts to fade. Just like the planets orbiting the Sun, your thoughts can follow their paths naturally, guided by something deeper, something more stable than any single moment. There is no urgency here, no pressure to hold everything together, because it already is. The system continues, balanced and steady, without needing intervention. And as you rest within that awareness, your mind becomes quieter, more centered, less focused on individual details, and more aware of the calm structure that holds everything in place. So as the sun continues to anchor the solar system with its immense mass and steady energy, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of quiet stability, letting your thoughts orbit gently without effort, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might think there are only a handful of planets in our solar system, and the familiar 8 that circle the sun in quiet, predictable paths. But beyond Neptune, far from the warmth of sunlight, there exists a vast population of smaller worlds, known as dwarf planets, and there may be many more of them than the planets you already know. And what makes this even more fascinating is not just their number, but how quietly they exist, scattered across the outer solar system, moving so slowly and reflecting so little light that they remain almost invisible. Pluto is the most well-known of these worlds, but it is only one among many. Others like Eris, Haumea, and Makemake share similar characteristics, large enough for their gravity to pull them into a roughly spherical shape, yet not dominant enough to clear their orbits of other debris. They are remnants of the early solar system, in objects that never fully formed into planets, but still hold clues to how everything began billions of years ago. These dwarf planets reside mainly in the Kuiper belt, a distant region filled with icy bodies and fragments left over from planetary formation. The Kuiper belt stretches billions of kilometers beyond Neptune, and within it, countless objects drift in quiet, elongated orbits, some taking hundreds of years to complete a single journey around the sun. Beyond that may lie even more distant regions, where objects are so far away that they have yet to be discovered. As you imagine this, a vast collection of hidden worlds moving slowly in the dark, you might begin to feel a sense of expansion, because what once seemed like a small, defined system becomes something much larger, much more open. There is no clear boundary, in no sharp edge where everything ends, only a gradual fading into deeper space. You can let your thoughts drift into that distant region, not searching for anything specific, just becoming aware of how much space exists, how much remains unseen. There's no need to find every object, no need to identify or understand everything. Just a quiet awareness that there is more out there than you can perceive, and that it continues without needing to be noticed. And as your awareness expands, your thoughts may begin to feel less confined, less limited by immediate concerns. They can spread out, become softer, less defined, like those distant worlds that drift quietly without drawing attention. There's no urgency here, no pressure to focus or resolve anything, just a gentle openness that allows everything to exist without tension. So as these dwarf planets continue their slow, silent orbits in the far reaches of the solar system, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of quiet expansion, letting your thoughts drift outward, becoming lighter, more distant, until they fade gently into a calm and open stillness that carries you deeper into sleep. You might assume that a day is always shorter than a year, that the rotation of a planet must naturally happen faster than its journey around the sun. But Venus quietly breaks that expectation in a way that feels almost unreal, because on this planet, a single day lasts longer than an entire year. Venus takes about 243 Earth days to complete one full rotation on its axis. Yet it only takes about 225 Earth days to orbit the Sun. This means that if you could stand on its surface, the time from one sunrise to the next would be longer than the time it takes for the planet to complete a full orbit. Days stretch into something far beyond what you are used to, and the concept of time begins to feel different, less defined by cycles you can easily recognize. The slow rotation of Venus also contributes to its extreme conditions. With such a long day, the surface has more time to absorb heat, and combined with its thick carbon dioxide atmosphere, this leads to temperatures that remain incredibly high across the entire planet. Even the night side does not cool significantly because the dense atmosphere traps heat so effectively that it is distributed around the planet, creating a nearly uniform temperature. And yet, despite this intensity, the passage of time on Venus feels slow, almost suspended, like the sun would move across the sky at a pace so gradual that you might not notice it shifting at all from one moment to the next. Hours would pass with only subtle changes, creating a sense of stillness that contrasts with the harsh conditions of the environment. As you imagine this, a world where time stretches beyond your usual experience, you might begin to feel a shift in your own sense of time, because the urgency of minutes and hours starts to lose its hold. There's no need to keep track of time here, no need to measure or manage it, just a gentle awareness that everything unfolds at its own pace. You can let your thoughts slow down with that idea, allowing each one to linger a little longer, to exist without needing to move quickly to the next. There is no need to rush through anything, no need to follow a strict sequence, and just a soft unfolding of one thought into another, without pressure or expectation. And as your thoughts begin to stretch out, they may feel less urgent, less demanding, more like distant motions that do not require your attention. There is no need to hold on to them, no need to bring them to completion, just a quiet awareness that they can exist and then fade on their own. So as Venus continues its slow rotation, its long days unfolding without hurry, you can allow yourself to move with that same gentle rhythm, letting time soften around you, letting your thoughts slow and settle, guiding you calmly and effortlessly toward a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might imagine that lakes and rivers always mean water, something familiar, something tied to life as you know it. But on Saturn's largest moon, Titan, there are lakes and seas made of something entirely different, liquid methane and ethane flowing across a cold, distant landscape under an orange, hazy sky. And what makes this even more fascinating is not just their composition, but how similar they appear to the bodies of water on Earth, with shorelines, waves, and even weather patterns that shape their surface over time. Titan is one of the few places in the solar system where stable liquids exist on the surface, but the temperatures there are so low, around negative 180 degrees Celsius, that water is frozen solid, behaving more like rock, while methane and ethane take on the role that water plays on Earth. These hydrocarbons evaporate, form clouds, fall as rain, and collect in lakes and rivers, creating a cycle that mirrors Earth's hydrological system, but with entirely different substances. The moon's thick atmosphere, composed mostly of nitrogen, helps maintain this cycle, trapping heat just enough to allow methane to remain liquid. It also creates a soft, diffused light, filtering sunlight into a dim amber glow that blankets the surface. Winds move slowly across this landscape, shaping dunes made of organic material, while rivers carve gentle paths through frozen terrain, eventually flowing into vast lakes that stretch for hundreds of kilometers. And yet, despite these familiar patterns, everything about Titan feels distant and quiet because the scale of time and motion is different. Rain falls slowly, clouds drift gently, and the surface changes over long periods, without sudden or dramatic shifts. It is a world where processes unfold quietly, without urgency, without pressure, simply following the natural rhythm of its environment. As you imagine standing near one of these methane lakes, watching the surface ripple under a faint wind, you might begin to feel a sense of calm, because even though the setting is unfamiliar, the patterns are gentle and steady. There is no need to interpret or understand everything, just a quiet awareness of movement that does not demand your attention. You can let your thoughts drift across that surface, like the slow movement of liquid methane, not holding their shape, not staying fixed, just flowing gently from one moment to the next. There's no need to hold on to any single idea, no need to follow it to its end, just a soft, continuous motion that feels natural and unforced. And as your thoughts begin to take on that fluid quality, something inside you starts to relax, because the need to control or direct them begins to fade. Just like the lakes of Titan, they can exist in a calm, steady state, moving without urgency, without resistance. So as this distant moon continues its quiet cycles of rain and evaporation, its lakes reflecting the dim light of a faraway sun, you can allow yourself to rest within that same gentle flow, letting your thoughts move softly and slowly, guiding you deeper into a peaceful and undisturbed sleep. You might assume that every moon forms alongside its planet, growing from the same material in the early solar system. But Mars offers something more uncertain, because its two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, may not have formed there at all. Instead, they might be captured asteroids, objects that once drifted through space before being gently pulled into orbit by Mars's gravity and becoming permanent companions in a quiet and unusual way. Phobos and Deimos are small, irregularly shaped, and heavily cratered, more like asteroids than the large spherical moons you might imagine. Their surfaces are dark and rocky, with loose material covering them in a layer of dust and debris. Their low gravity means that if you were to stand on one of them, you would feel almost weightless, able to move with the slightest effort, barely held to the surface. Phobos, the larger of the two, orbits very close to Mars, completing a full orbit in just over 7 hours. From the surface of Mars, it would appear to rise and set multiple times in a single day, moving quickly across the sky in a way that feels unfamiliar. Deimos, farther away, moves more slowly, appearing as a small, distant point of light. Together, they form a quiet, asymmetrical system, unlike the single large moon that orbits Earth. There is also a sense of impermanence in their motion, because Phobos is gradually moving closer to Mars, pulled inward by tidal forces. In tens of millions of years, it is expected to either break apart into a ring or collide with the planet's surface. Deimos, on the other hand, is slowly drifting away, its orbit expanding over time. This gentle divergence creates a quiet dynamic, one moon approaching, the other retreating, both moving without urgency, without sudden change. As you imagine these two small moons drifting around Mars, you might begin to feel how different this kind of relationship is, because it is not fixed, not permanent, but still stable in the moment. There is no need for everything to last forever to be meaningful. No need for every connection to remain unchanged. Some things can simply exist for a time, moving gently within their own paths. You can let your thoughts follow one of these moons, perhaps Phobos as it circles Mars again and again, not needing to change its path, not needing to decide where to go, just continuing in a quiet, steady orbit. And as you do, your own thoughts may begin to feel less pressured, less uncertain, because they do not need to resolve everything right now. There is no need to hold onto any one direction, no need to decide what comes next, just a gentle awareness that things can move, shift, and change in their own time. And as that awareness settles in, something inside you begins to relax, releasing the need for certainty, allowing everything to simply be as it is. So as Phobos and Deimos continue their silent paths around Mars, one drawing closer, the other drifting away, you can allow your own thoughts to move with that same gentle rhythm, without urgency, without resistance, guiding you softly into a deeper and more restful sleep. You might assume that planets only shine because they reflect sunlight, that their brightness comes entirely from an external source. But Jupiter quietly challenges that idea, because it actually emits more energy than it receives from the sun. And what makes this even more fascinating is that this energy does not come from nuclear fusion like a star, but from something slower, something quieter, a gradual release of heat left over from its formation billions of years ago. When Jupiter first formed, it gathered an enormous amount of gas and material, and as this mass collapsed under gravity, it generated heat, a kind of stored energy that has never fully dissipated. Even now, the planet continues to contract very slightly, and as it does, gravitational energy is converted into heat, radiating outward through its thick layers of gas. This process, known as Kelvin-Helmholtz contraction, allows Jupiter to maintain an internal warmth that drives its complex atmospheric motion. This internal heat contributes to the planet's weather systems, powering the movement of clouds, the formation of storms, and the constant shifting of its atmospheric bands. It is part of the reason why Jupiter is so dynamic, even though it lies far from the Sun compared to Earth. In the infrared spectrum, this heat becomes visible, revealing a planet that glows softly from within, like a distant ember, quietly releasing energy into the surrounding space. And yet, despite all this activity, Jupiter does not feel intense or overwhelming when you imagine it from a distance. Its glow is gentle, its motion steady, its energy released gradually over immense periods of time. There is no sudden burst, no dramatic change, just a continuous, quiet process that has been unfolding for billions of years. As you think about this, you might begin to feel a sense of calm, because it shows that not all energy needs to be outward or visible to be real. Some of it can remain internal, steady, and self-sustaining, existing without needing to draw attention. And in that idea, there is something comforting, because it suggests that even when things seem still on the surface, there can be a quiet warmth beneath, something stable and ongoing, can let your thoughts settle into that same gentle warmth, not pushing outward, not seeking to change or move quickly, just existing in a calm, steady state. There's no need to express or resolve everything, no need to act on every thought, just a quiet awareness that something continues beneath the surface, without urgency. And as that awareness deepens, your thoughts may begin to feel softer, less defined, more like a background presence than something you need to follow. They can drift gently, held within a space that feels warm and stable, without needing to move or change. So as Jupiter continues its slow contraction, quietly releasing heat into the darkness of space, you can allow yourself to rest within that same gentle rhythm, where everything feels steady, calm, and softly illuminated from within, in it guiding you deeper into a peaceful and restful sleep. You might think that discovery always begins with observation, that something must be seen before it can be known. But Neptune quietly defies that expectation, because it was discovered through mathematics before it was ever observed through a telescope. And what makes this even more remarkable is how this discovery came not from direct evidence, but from subtle irregularities, small deviations in the motion of another planet that hinted at something unseen. In the early 19th century, astronomers studying Uranus noticed that its orbit did not behave exactly as predicted. There were small variations, slight shifts that could not be explained by the known planets at the time. Instead of dismissing these differences, mathematicians began to analyze them, calculating what kind of object might be causing these disturbances through its gravitational pull. Independently, two scientists, Urbain Le Verrier in France and John Couch Adams in England, used these calculations to predict the position of an unknown planet. When astronomers pointed their telescopes to the region of the sky indicated by these predictions in 1846, they found Neptune almost exactly where the mathematics had suggested it would be. It was a moment that demonstrated the power of understanding patterns, of recognizing that even unseen forces leave traces, subtle signals that can be followed if you know how to look. Neptune itself is a distant, cold world, similar in many ways to Uranus, with a deep blue color caused by methane in its atmosphere, and powerful winds that move at extraordinary speeds. It orbits far from the Sun, and taking about 165 Earth years to complete a single revolution, moving slowly through the darkness of the outer solar system. And yet, despite its distance, its presence was known before it was ever directly seen, simply because of the way it influenced the motion of something else. As you reflect on this, you might begin to feel a shift in perspective, because it suggests that not everything needs to be visible to be real. Not everything needs to be fully understood to have an effect. Some things exist quietly in the background, shaping what you experience without ever being directly noticed. And in that, there is something calming, because then it allows you to let go of the need to see or understand everything clearly. You can let your thoughts drift with that idea, not trying to identify or define every detail, just allowing them to exist, knowing that even without full clarity, they are part of a larger pattern. There is no need to bring everything into focus, no need to resolve every uncertainty, just a gentle awareness. that things can exist quietly without needing attention. And as that awareness settles in, your thoughts may begin to feel less urgent, less demanding, because they do not need to be fully formed or understood. Like Neptune, they can remain in the background, influencing gently without needing to be seen. So as Neptune continues its slow, distant orbit, moving through the darkness in a way that was once only predicted, you can allow yourself to rest within that same quiet mystery, where not everything needs to be known and everything can exist softly, guiding you gently into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might expect nature to be irregular, unpredictable, full of rough edges and uneven forms. But at the North Pole of Saturn, there is something that feels almost impossible. A massive storm shaped like a near-perfect hexagon, a six-sided figure stretching over 30,000 kilometers across, wider than Earth itself. And what makes this even more fascinating is not just its size, but its precision, because this geometric pattern has persisted for decades, possibly centuries, rotating steadily without losing its shape. This hexagonal structure is not solid, not fixed like a crystal, but formed by flowing gases in Saturn's atmosphere, moving in a way that creates stable wave patterns. Scientists believe it is the result of jet streams moving at different speeds, creating standing waves that lock into a repeating pattern, much like ripples forming in a rotating fluid. In laboratory experiments have shown that when liquids are spun under controlled conditions, similar polygonal shapes can appear, suggesting that even something as fluid and dynamic as a planetary atmosphere can organize itself into something structured and precise. And yet, despite how exact this shape appears, it is constantly in motion. Winds move along its edges, clouds shift within its boundaries, and the entire structure rotates slowly around the pole, maintaining its form through a balance of forces that do not require external control. It is a reminder that order can emerge naturally, that patterns can form without intention, guided only by the quiet rules of physics. As you imagine this vast hexagon turning slowly in the darkness, you might begin to feel a sense of calm, because something so structured, so balanced, it does not feel chaotic or overwhelming. Instead, it feels steady, predictable, almost peaceful in its repetition. There is no sudden change, no disruption, just a continuous motion that holds its shape over time. You can let your thoughts align with that pattern, not forcing them into order, but allowing them to settle into a quieter, more balanced state. There is no need to control or organize everything, no need to make sense of every detail, because just like that distant storm, your mind can find its own natural rhythm, its own gentle structure. And as your thoughts begin to settle, they may feel less scattered, less intense, more evenly spaced, like the sides of that hexagon, forming a quiet balance that does not require effort. There is no need to hold on to any one idea, no need to follow any single path, and just a soft awareness of everything moving together in a calm, steady way. So as Saturn's hexagon continues its silent rotation, precise and unchanging in the vastness of space, you can allow yourself to rest within that same quiet order where everything feels balanced, steady, and at ease, guiding you gently into a deeper state of calm and rest. You might assume that the farther you move from a source of heat, the colder everything becomes. The temperature should decrease steadily as you move away from the sun, but the sun itself quietly defies this expectation because its outer atmosphere, known as the corona, is far hotter than its visible surface. And what makes this even more puzzling is that the surface of the Sun is already extremely hot, around 5,500 degrees Celsius, yet the corona can reach temperatures of over 1 million degrees, creating a situation that seems to contradict the basic idea of how heat should behave. This phenomenon has puzzled scientists for decades, leading to various theories about how energy is transported and concentrated in the Sun's outer layers. One leading idea involves magnetic fields, which twist, stretch, and snap in complex ways, releasing bursts of energy that heat the surrounding plasma. Another possibility is the presence of tiny, frequent explosions known as nanoflares, each releasing a small amount of energy, but together contributing to the intense heat of the corona. Despite this extreme temperature, the corona is incredibly thin, much less dense than the Sun's surface, which is why it does not feel as intense as the numbers might suggest. Heat, in this case, is not something you would experience in a familiar way, but something that exists in a different form, spread across a vast, diffuse region of plasma. As you imagine this, a region of intense heat surrounding a comparatively cooler surface, you might begin to feel a sense of quiet curiosity because it shows that not everything follows simple expectations. Not everything behaves in the way you might assume. And yet, despite this complexity, the system remains stable. The Sun continues to shine, its layers interacting in a way that sustains its energy over time. You can let your thoughts rest within that idea, not needing to fully understand it, not needing to resolve the mystery, just allowing it to exist as something gentle and intriguing. There is no need to find answers, no need to follow every detail. It's just a soft awareness that some things can remain uncertain without causing tension. And as you release the need to understand everything completely, your thoughts may begin to feel lighter, less burdened by the need for clarity or resolution. They can drift more freely, moving without direction, without pressure, just existing in a quiet space where everything feels softer and more open. So as the Sun's corona continues to glow with its quiet, unexpected heat, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of gentle mystery, where not everything needs to be explained, and everything can simply be, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might think the solar system ends somewhere near Neptune, that beyond it there is only empty darkness. But just past that distant orbit lies a quiet region known as the Kuiper belt, a ring of icy worlds and ancient fragments that have remained largely unchanged since the earliest days of the solar system. And what makes this region so fascinating is not just its distance, but its stillness. Because these objects move so slowly, so far from the Sun, the time itself seems to stretch and soften around them. The Kuiper belt extends for billions of kilometers, filled with countless icy bodies, including dwarf planets like Pluto, Haumea, and Makemake, as well as many smaller objects that have yet to be fully catalogued. These are not newly formed worlds, but remnants, pieces left over from the process that created the planets, preserved in the cold, far from the gravitational disturbances that shape the inner solar system. Sunlight at this distance is faint, more than 1,000 times weaker than what you experience on Earth, casting only a dim glow across these frozen surfaces. Temperatures are incredibly low, often below -220 degrees Celsius, cold enough to keep volatile substances like methane, nitrogen, and carbon monoxide in solid form. And in this environment, change happens very slowly, almost imperceptibly, because there is little energy to drive rapid motion or transformation. As you imagine drifting through this distant region, moving slowly past these quiet, icy worlds, you might begin to feel a sense of calm expansion, because everything here exists at a pace far removed from anything familiar. There's no urgency, no rapid movement, just a gentle, continuous orbit around the sun, taking hundreds of years to complete. And you can let your thoughts drift into that same slow rhythm, not moving quickly from one idea to another, but stretching out, becoming less defined, less urgent. There is no need to follow any single thought, no need to reach a conclusion, just a quiet awareness of motion that unfolds without pressure. And as your thoughts begin to spread out, they may feel less intense, more distant, like those icy objects scattered across the Kuiper belt, each one separate, each one moving gently through space without interference. There is no need to bring them together, no need to organize or resolve them, just a soft sense of openness that allows everything to exist without tension. In that openness, something begins to settle, because the absence of urgency allows your mind to rest. There is no need to keep moving, no need to keep thinking, just a gentle drift through a space that feels vast, quiet, and calm. So as the Kuiper belt continues its slow orbit beyond Neptune, holding its frozen memories of the early solar system, you can allow yourself to rest within that same stillness, letting your thoughts become softer, slower, and more distant, guiding you gently into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might imagine the boundary of the solar system as a clear line, a point where everything simply ends. But the reality is far more subtle, because the edge of the sun's influence is not defined by a solid boundary, but by a gradual transition into interstellar space. This boundary, known as the heliopause, marks the point where the solar wind, a stream of charged particles flowing outward from the sun, is no longer strong enough to push back against the pressure of the interstellar medium, the thin gas and dust that exists between stars. Beyond this point, the influence of other stars and the galaxy itself begins to dominate, but the sun's gravity still extends much farther, holding distant objects like comets in loosely bound orbits. This means that the solar system does not have a single clear edge, but rather a series of overlapping regions, each defined by different forces, each fading gradually into the next. Spacecraft like Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 have traveled for decades to reach this boundary, crossing the heliopause and entering interstellar space, where the environment changes subtly but significantly. The density of particles increases, the direction of magnetic fields shifts, and the influence of the sun becomes less dominant. And yet, even here, there is no sudden change, no sharp transition, just a gradual shift from one region to another. As you imagine this distant boundary, you might begin to feel a sense of gentle transition, because it shows that not everything needs a clear beginning or end. Some things simply change slowly, blending from one state into another without any need for a defining moment. And in that, there's something calming, because it allows you to let go of the idea that everything must be clearly defined or understood. You can let your thoughts drift into that space between regions, not fully within one state or another, just existing in a quiet transition. There is no need to decide where one thought ends and another begins. No need to create boundaries or definitions. It's just a soft awareness of change that happens naturally. And as you rest within that transition, your thoughts may begin to feel less structured, less confined, more fluid, like the gradual blending of forces at the edge of the solar system. There's no need to hold on to anything tightly, no need to keep everything separate, just a gentle merging into a quieter, more open state. In that openness, something begins to relax, because the need for clarity and definition fades away. There is no urgency here, no pressure to understand or resolve anything, just a calm, continuous shift that carries you gently forward. So as the solar system fades into the wider galaxy, its influence gradually giving way to something larger, you can allow yourself to drift into that same quiet transition, where everything becomes softer, less defined, and easier to release, guiding you slowly and peacefully into sleep. You might think that the solar system has already stretched as far as it can, that beyond the Kuiper belt there's nothing left to belong to the sun, but far beyond even that distant region, there may exist something even larger, something so vast and so faint that it has never been directly observed, only inferred through the quiet behavior of comets. This is what scientists call the Oort cloud, a distant spherical shell of icy bodies that may extend nearly a light year from the sun, marking the farthest reach of its gravitational influence. And what makes this region so extraordinary is not just its size, but its stillness, because objects in the Oort cloud move so slowly, so far from the sun's pull, that their motion feels almost suspended. Some of these icy bodies may take tens of thousands, even millions of years to complete a single orbit, drifting in the darkness at the edge of the solar system, barely held by the sun's gravity, yet still connected to it. The Oort cloud is thought to be the source of long-period comets, those rare visitors that appear in the inner solar system after spending most of their existence in deep space. Occasionally, the gentle influence of a passing star or the tidal forces of the galaxy can disturb these distant objects, nudging them inward on long, slow paths toward the sun. When they arrive, they bring with them material that has remained unchanged since the earliest days of the solar system, offering a glimpse into a time long before planets fully formed. As you imagine this distant cloud stretching far beyond anything you can easily picture, you might begin to feel a sense of quiet expansion, because the scale of it is almost beyond comprehension. It is not a place you could visit in any meaningful sense, not a region filled with visible activity, but something more like a boundary of influence, a fading connection between the sun and the vastness of interstellar space. You can let your thoughts drift outward into that same sense of distance, not focusing on any single object, just becoming aware of how far everything extends, how much space exists beyond what you normally consider. There is no need to reach the edge, no need to define it, just a gentle awareness of something vast and quiet. And as your awareness expands, your thoughts may begin to feel lighter, less confined, and more distant from the center of your attention. They can drift slowly, like those distant icy bodies, not needing to return, not needing to complete a path, just existing in a quiet, open space. There is no urgency here, no pressure to move or change, just a soft, continuous drift through something that feels endless and calm. And in that openness, something inside you begins to settle, because there's nothing to hold on to, nothing to manage, just a quiet sense of distance that allows everything to relax. So as the Oort cloud continues its silent existence at the farthest reaches of the solar system, you can allow yourself to drift into that same vast stillness where thoughts become softer, slower, and more distant, gently carrying you toward a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might imagine that most moons are quiet, frozen, and inactive, but Io, one of Jupiter's largest moons, is anything but still because it is the most volcanically active world in the entire solar system. And what makes this even more fascinating is that its constant eruptions are not driven by internal heat alone, but by the immense gravitational forces acting upon it from Jupiter and neighboring moons. Io is caught in a gravitational interaction known as tidal heating, where the pull of Jupiter's gravity stretches and squeezes the moon as it orbits. This continuous flexing generates friction deep within its interior, producing enough heat to melt rock and fuel constant volcanic activity. The surface of Io is covered in bright colors, yellows, reds, and oranges, created by sulfur and other volcanic materials, and it is constantly being reshaped by eruptions that send plumes of material hundreds of kilometers into space. Despite this intense activity, Io exists in silence because there is no atmosphere to carry sound. Explosions that would be deafening on Earth unfold without a single audible vibration, their energy released into the vacuum without noise. Lava flows across the surface, plumes rise and fall, and the landscape changes continuously, yet all of it happens in complete quiet. As you imagine this, a world of constant eruption that produces no sound, you might begin to feel a subtle shift in how you perceive intensity, because even the most active processes do not need to feel overwhelming. Motion does not have to be loud. Change does not have to be disruptive. Everything can unfold in a way that remains contained, distant, and calm from your perspective. You can let your thoughts move like those eruptions, rising and fading without needing to be held or followed. There's no need to stop them, no need to control their movement, just a gentle awareness that they can appear and disappear on their own. And as you observe that process, your thoughts may begin to feel less intense, less demanding, more like natural events that do not require your attention. There is no urgency here, no need to react or engage, just a quiet system of motion continuing in the background. And as you rest within that awareness, something inside you begins to relax because the need to manage or suppress your thoughts starts to fade. So as Io continues its endless cycle of eruptions, reshaping its surface again and again in silent motion, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of gentle release, where thoughts come and go without resistance, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might assume that everything in the solar system moves in the same direction, following a shared rhythm set by the way it all formed. But Triton, the largest moon of Neptune, quietly breaks that expectation because it orbits its planet in the opposite direction of Neptune's rotation, a motion known as a retrograde orbit. And what makes this even more intriguing is that this backward movement suggests Triton did not form where it is now, but was captured long ago, pulled into orbit from a distant region of space, possibly from the Kuiper belt. This capture would not have been a gentle event. When Triton was drawn into Neptune's gravity, it likely disrupted the original system of moons, altering or even destroying earlier satellites. Over time, however, the system settled into a new balance, and Triton became the dominant moon, following its unusual path in a quiet, stable orbit. What began as a chaotic interaction eventually softened into something steady and predictable, a reminder that even disruption can lead to calm over time. Triton itself is a cold and distant world, with a surface covered in nitrogen ice and temperatures dropping below negative 230 degrees Celsius. Despite this extreme cold, it shows signs of geological activity, including cryovolcanoes that erupt with slushy mixtures of water, ammonia, and methane, sending plumes of material into its thin atmosphere. These eruptions are not violent in the way volcanic activity on Earth might be, but slow and quiet, shaped by the unique conditions of this distant environment. As you imagine Triton moving in reverse around Neptune, you might begin to feel a shift in your own sense of direction, because it shows that movement does not always need to follow a familiar path. Not everything needs to go forward in the way you expect, and sometimes a different direction can still lead to stability, to balance, to something calm and lasting. You can let your thoughts move in that same gentle way, not forcing them to follow a particular direction, not trying to guide them toward a specific outcome, just allowing them to drift, even if they seem to move backward or revisit something from earlier. There is no need to correct them, no need to push them forward, just a soft acceptance of whatever path they take. And as you release that need for direction, something inside you begins to relax, because the pressure to move forward, to resolve, to progress starts to fade. Your thoughts can slow, soften, and settle into a quieter rhythm, one that does not require effort or control. So as Triton continues its backward journey, orbiting Neptune in a silent, steady path, you can allow yourself to drift with that same sense of calm movement, where direction no longer matters, and everything feels softer, quieter, and easier to release, guiding you gently towards sleep. You might think that moons are always much smaller than the planets they orbit, that they exist as minor companions. But Earth's moon quietly challenges that idea, because compared to its host planet, it is unusually large, about 1/4 the diameter of Earth. And what makes this even more fascinating is how this relationship likely began, not as a gentle formation, but as the result of a massive collision early in the history of the solar system. Scientists believe that billions of years ago, a Mars-sized body collided with the young Earth, ejecting a vast amount of material into orbit. Over time, this debris came together, gradually forming the Moon, a process that transformed a violent event into a stable, lasting system. And since then, the Moon has remained a constant presence, orbiting Earth in a steady rhythm that has influenced the planet in subtle but important ways. The gravitational pull of the Moon creates tides in Earth's oceans, causing water to rise and fall in a slow, predictable cycle. It also helps stabilize Earth's axial tilt, preventing extreme variations in climate over long periods. Without the Moon, the conditions on Earth might be far less stable, and the environment that supports life could be very different. And yet, despite its importance, the Moon moves quietly, without drawing attention to its influence. It circles Earth once every 27 days, reflecting sunlight softly into the night sky, changing its appearance in a steady sequence of phases. It does not rush, does not demand, simply continues its motion in a way that feels calm and familiar. As you imagine the moon moving through the night sky, you might begin to feel a sense of quiet companionship because it is always there, even when you cannot see it, following its path without interruption. It does not need to be noticed to exist, does not need to change to remain meaningful. And in that, there is something comforting because it reflects a kind of presence that is steady and reliable. You can let your thoughts move in that same gentle rhythm, not rushing, not pushing forward, just following a quiet cycle that does not require effort. There's no need to complete anything, no need to reach an end, just a soft awareness of motion that continues naturally. And as your thoughts begin to align with that rhythm, they may feel less scattered, less urgent, more like phases that come and go without needing to be held. There is no need to keep them in place, no need to control their movement, just a quiet acceptance of their natural flow. So as the moon continues its steady orbit around Earth, reflecting soft light into the darkness, you can allow yourself to rest within that same sense of calm companionship, and where everything feels gentle, familiar, and at ease, guiding you softly into a deeper and more peaceful sleep. You might imagine the planets moving in perfect circles, smooth and symmetrical paths that repeat endlessly without variation. But the truth is quieter and more subtle, because every orbit in the solar system is actually an ellipse, a slightly stretched circle where the sun sits, not at the center, but just off to one side. And what makes this even more interesting is that this small imperfection creates a gentle variation in distance, a slow rhythm of approaching and receding that continues without ever needing to be exact. This idea was first described by Johannes Kepler in the early 1600s, when he realized that planetary motion did not follow perfect circles as previously believed, but instead traced these elongated paths. Each planet has a point where it is closest to the sun, called perihelion, and a point where it is farthest away, called aphelion. The difference is often small, barely noticeable in terms of temperature or appearance, but it is always there, a quiet shift that shapes the motion of everything in the system. Because of this elliptical motion, planets move slightly faster when they are closer to the sun and slightly slower when they are farther away, following a natural balance between gravity and motion. It is not something you would feel or observe directly, but it is always present, guiding the rhythm of orbits in a way that does not require precision or perfection, only consistency. As you think about this, you might begin to notice how different this kind of motion feels compared to the idea of perfection, because nothing here is perfectly round, nothing is exactly centered, and yet everything works. The solar system does not need perfect shapes to remain stable. It only needs a gentle balance, a steady rhythm that allows each planet to follow its path without disruption. You can let your thoughts rest within that idea, because there is no need for them to be perfect, no need for them to form complete or flawless patterns. Just like those orbits, they can be slightly uneven, slightly stretched, and still move in a way that feels natural and calm. There's no urgency to correct anything, no pressure to make everything align perfectly, just a soft acceptance that movement can be gentle, imperfect, and still completely stable. And as you allow that idea to settle in, something inside you begins to relax, because the need for precision, and for control, for completeness, starts to fade. You can imagine your thoughts moving in quiet orbits, not perfectly circular, not tightly controlled, but flowing gently around a center that does not need to be fixed. They come closer, then drift farther away, following a rhythm that does not require effort or attention. And in that motion, something becomes softer, because there is no expectation, no demand for perfection, just a continuous, gentle movement that carries you forward without pressure. So as the planets continue their quiet, elliptical paths around the sun, never perfectly round, never needing to be, you can allow yourself to rest within that same gentle rhythm, where everything feels natural, unforced, and at ease, guiding you softly into a deeper state of calm and rest. You might think that our journey through the solar system comes to a clear conclusion, that there is a final place to arrive, a boundary where everything stops. But the truth is far more peaceful, because there is no true ending, only a quiet continuation. Even now, the entire solar system is moving, not just around the sun, but around the center of the Milky Way galaxy, completing one orbit every 225 to 250 million years. This means that everything you have imagined tonight, every planet, every moon, every distant object, is part of a much larger motion, a slow, steady journey through space that never pauses, never rushes, simply continues. The sun carries the entire system with it, drifting through regions of gas and dust, passing through spiral arms of the galaxy, always moving, yet never feeling hurried. And as you think about this, you might begin to feel a sense of quiet release, because there is no final destination you need to reach, no point where everything must come together or be resolved. The journey itself is enough. The gentle motion through space, the slow unfolding of time, the quiet presence of everything moving together. You can let your thoughts rest within that idea, not needing to finish anything, not needing to arrive anywhere, just existing in a calm, continuous flow. There's no need to hold on to any single moment, no need to complete any thought, just a soft awareness that everything continues on its own. And as you release that need for an ending, something inside you begins to settle, because the pressure to reach a conclusion fades away. Your thoughts no longer need to move forward or backward. They can simply drift, like the solar system itself, carried gently through a vast and quiet space. You might notice your breathing becoming slower, more even, your body feeling softer, heavier, as if it is sinking into the surface beneath you. There's nothing left to do, nothing left to follow, just a gentle awareness of stillness that surrounds you. The planets continue their orbits, the sun continues to shine, the galaxy continues its slow rotation, and all of it happens without needing your attention. You are free to rest, free to let go, free to drift into a space where everything feels calm and distant. And so, as this quiet journey comes to a gentle close, you can allow the last traces of these distant worlds to fade softly from your thoughts, like starlight disappearing into the horizon. There is nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to think about, and just a peaceful sense of stillness that carries you deeper and deeper into rest. The universe will continue without you needing to follow it, and you can finally let yourself drift into sleep, calm, weightless, and at ease under the quiet presence of distant stars. Good night. And now, as our journey gently comes to an end, you may begin to notice just how quiet everything has become. Not because the universe has stopped, but because you no longer need to follow it. The planets are still moving, the stars are still burning, distant moons are still drifting through silent orbits. But all of it can continue without you needing to hold on to any of it. Your only task now is to rest. Let your breathing slow, soft and steady, like the distant rhythm of worlds turning far away. Let your body sink a little deeper, each supported by the quiet weight of the earth beneath you, held gently without effort. There is nothing left to think about, nothing left to understand, nothing left to finish. Everything that needed to happen has already happened. If a thought appears, you don't need to follow it. Just let it pass, like a faint comet drifting across a dark sky, visible for a moment, and then gone again. You don't need to reach for it. You don't need to keep it. It will fade on its own. Somewhere out there, Neptune's winds are still racing in silence. Saturn's rings are still slowly falling. Europa's hidden ocean is still shifting beneath the ice, and the sun continues its quiet, steady glow, releasing light into the darkness, just as it always has. But you don't need to stay awake for any of it. The universe is patient. It will still be there in the morning. For now, you can let go. Let your thoughts drift farther away, becoming softer, slower, until they are no longer separate ideas, just a quiet feeling, like floating in a vast and gentle space. Your breathing becomes deeper, your body more relaxed, your awareness fading softly into the background. You've traveled far tonight, farther than you needed to, farther than most ever do before sleep. And now, there is nowhere left to go, only rest. So let the last traces of starlight dim behind your thoughts. Let the silence wrap gently around you and allow yourself to drift slowly, effortlessly into sleep. Good night.